Six tips on how to stay motivated. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You're sitting on your couch on a Saturday. You look outside at the grass that needs to be mowed. You look at the sink that has a pile of dirty dishes growing smellier by the minute. You look at the pile of laundry that needs washing. Then you look back to your Netflix account and press continue watching for the fourth time today. No? Alright, let's see if this scenario rings a bell. You're at work on a Tuesday afternoon. You spend the morning chatting with coworkers in the break room and took a long lunch to keep the conversation going. Now it's 2 p.m. and your Twitter feed is way more interesting than the report in front of you. It's not due for another... Wait, when is it due again? We all fall prey to the oppressive clutches of laziness from time to time. And I know it's hard to stay motivated day after day, especially on a Tuesday afternoon. It's perfectly natural and okay to feel this way, as long as you know how to shake that feeling. If you need some help finding and keeping motivation on your side, here are 6 tips to help you keep the laziness at bay. Number 1, start with small chunks. The first step you take is the hardest one, but you can make it easier for yourself. Cognitive psychology uses a technique literally called chunking to improve memory performance. The basic principle is to break up a big set of information into smaller sets of info to make it easier to remember it all. For example, it's hard to remember a long number like 293851047. But if you split that number into smaller pieces, 293, 385, 1047, you have a much easier time recalling the correct number in its proper order. The same principle applies to accomplishing tasks and staying motivated. It's hard, overwhelming even, to imagine completing an enormous task. However, if you break it into smaller pieces, into chunks as it were, it feels much more manageable. Take small steps instead of big leaps. Rather than doing the whole list of chores, do one at a time and reward yourself with 15-minute breaks. Instead of writing an entire report in one day, write a set amount of words or pages every day until it's due. Exercising for 30 minutes sounds like a monumental task, so commit to doing 15 minutes in the morning and the other 15 minutes when you get home from work. Chunking and breaking large tasks into smaller ones is highly effective because it helps us believe in our ability to accomplish these goals, rather than waste time feeling intimidated by a monumental one. And once we muster enough motivation to check off one task, our motivation keeps building as we power through our list. Number 2, create a positive reinforcement system. Your brain is really the one leading the charge against laziness, or succumbing to it, depending on the day. And your mind likes to feel good. Seems reasonable to me. So rather than focusing our brains to struggle through a task or a list of to-dos, why not give it some encouragement to perform as well? A behavior or habit is more likely to occur when a reward follows it. Think of training a dog. And no, I'm not equating your brain to a dog's brain. When you're training a puppy, you give them a command and reward them with a treat when they perform that command successfully. Your puppy enjoys the treat very much, so they do whatever they can to earn another one. Human brains operate quite similarly. We like to experience a reward in the form of a compliment, words of appreciation, a trophy or medal, even a treat. It all boils down to positive reinforcement, rewarding good behavior with something enjoyable. I mentioned this in a previous section, rewarding yourself with a break after performing one chore on your list. But if you want to kick up your motivation a notch, you're going to have to kick up your reward too. Let's go back to the chore example. Let's say you have to do one chore in its entirety, like doing a whole sink full of dishes. Sounds exhausting, right? But what if there was a chocolate treat waiting for you when you're finished doing the dishes? Suddenly, those dishes seem to be washing themselves and flying back into the cupboards. Now move on to the laundry. Sort it into loads, then grab another chocolate. Hey, kind of fun, huh? Mow the lawn real quick? Okay, it'll only take 20 minutes, then you can have another chocolate. Ta-da! Your chores are all done. And maybe there's a bit of a sugar buzz from the chocolate. Whether it's chocolate, fruit, or a non-food reward, find something you enjoy and make that your reward for accomplishing tasks. Rewards make your brain feel good, so your brain will urge you forward through your tasks to get the reward. After enough repetition, your brain will see a complete task as a reward in itself. Sure, this may seem childish. I mean, we're using the same principle as puppy training, but just try it. Establish a reward system for tasks at home or work and see how your motivation changes. Number 3, own your distractions. The antagonist of the grand plot of laziness is distraction. Sometimes it's one distraction in the form of a habit, and sometimes it's several distractions in the form of apps on our phone. Even people can be distracting, like that one coworker who loves to take breaks together, or the friend that texts you asking you to come out every night. Most of the time, though, it's our brain feeding us distractions. Intruding thoughts like, how will my boss respond to this presentation? Or, I wonder what Kylie Jenner does to keep in shape. I should Google that. Derail and distract from the task at hand. We focus on that thought rather than accomplishing our goal. Fighting these thoughts off and keeping them away is not a sustainable method. You'll just obsess over not thinking about the distracting thoughts. Here's what to do instead. When you sit down and start tackling your task, keep a notebook and a pen beside you. If a distracting thought enters your mind, or you are distracted by some memory or reminder, write a brief note about it in your notebook and immediately return your focus to the main task. Every time this happens, quickly write down the distraction, then pivot back to your main task. After your task is finished, look over the list of distractions you've written down. Are any of them essential or need action? If so, you're free to handle it now that your task is complete. Listing out your distractions and owning them is much more useful than ignoring or forcing the thoughts out of your head. Plus, writing them down allows your brain to process them, reducing the chances of the distracting thought entering your mind again. Keeping your distractions well managed will help you keep laziness in check. Number 4, block the escape routes. Anytime we set out to accomplish a task, there are tools we use to procrastinate and put it off even longer, whether we realize it or not. These are the escape routes we take to avoid accomplishing tasks. What are your escape routes? Is it Instagram? Do you get sucked into watching Hulu? Maybe YouTube videos magically appear on your screen every time you start a big project. Identify your escape routes so that you can block them. If your phone is a source of escape routes, put it on silent mode and put it in your desk drawer at work, or hide it in your bag completely. If you're at home when your escape routes beckon, put your phone in another room while you work. Just get it far away from your workspace. Removing the easy access is more than half the battle. You won't be able to act on the impulse to reach to your phone and start scrolling. Alternatively, if you find yourself browsing the desktop version of your escape route, you can temporarily block those websites until you get your work done. Is your TV calling you towards an escape? Don't hesitate to pull the plug until your task is complete. Remove the escape routes to laziness, and you won't have much choice but to be productive. Number 5, be nice to yourself. One of the biggest demotivators you might encounter is, well, yourself. So often we have the potential to do great things, but as soon as we try to motivate ourselves to do them, our self-talk gets in the way. You'll fail, you know you will. Why bother trying? It sounds really hard and you're gonna hate every second. What we say to ourselves and how we say it affects our actions in a big way. If you're constantly putting yourself down, thinking negative thoughts about yourself or your work performance, it's going to manifest into self-judgment, anxiety, sadness, and guilt, none of which are conducive to accomplishing your goals. Rather than being harsh, be kind to yourself. Be gentle in your thoughts and give yourself some grace. Instead of scolding yourself for only writing half of the pages you needed to write, acknowledge the frustration, but congratulate yourself for pouring all your effort into the pages you did write. Rather than criticize yourself for sleeping in instead of working out, acknowledge your disappointment, but express gratitude for the extra rest and try again the next day. If you beat yourself down in these situations, you'll always quit halfway or never start at all. Be nice to yourself to keep your motivation high. We've come to our 6th tip on how to stay motivated. But before we go there, consider subscribing and don't forget to ring that notification bell. And if you like this content, hit that like button and comment below. What's our 6th tip on how to stay motivated? Ask for help. Your most powerful weapon is the support system around you. People often recruit a friend or family member to be their accountability partner to help them accomplish a big goal. If you opt to take this route, keep 2 things in mind. First, make sure your social support knows their purpose is to celebrate your victories, not intimidate you into fearing failure even more. They need to be a positive voice encouraging you forward, not tearing you down when you stumble. Second, don't tell them the ultimate goal. Instead, tell them the behaviors you need to maintain to reach that goal. For example, rather than telling them you want to run a half marathon in a few months, tell them that your goal is to run 4 times a week and go to the gym once per week. Their job is to help with the not-so-fun part of training, rather than focusing on the reward of running across the finish line. Reinforcing the routine keeps you motivated to stay on the path to success. Thanks for watching Cerebral Life, the channel where you learn more and improve your life. See you next time!